Hey guys, and welcome to Madrid in Spain for the world premiere test drive of the Polestar 3 dual motor. And in this video, well, I have a treat for you guys, something I've been waiting for such a long time, and that is my full review, proper test drive of the new Polestar 3 on normal roads. Yes, I was one of the lucky people who got to drive this car on an ice track back in January or February earlier this year in Jokkmokk in northern Sweden. But today we have the proper driving impressions on normal roads, on twisty roads, and then we're going to do a proper walkthrough on the exterior and the interior. And then I'm going to give you guys my final verdict on the Polestar 3 dual motor. So for you guys who aren't new to my channel, I've actually done quite a few walkthroughs of the Polestar 3 already. I've done quite a few at the different spaces around in Norway. I've also went to the launch in Copenhagen 1.5 years ago, but I haven't shown you guys a non-performance version, and I haven't shown you guys a version with this color, which is called Jupiter. Is kind of like a champagne color. So that's why I'm showing you guys this color. Later on in this video, I'm gonna be test driving a performance version, which is really cool. So I'm gonna give you guys the driving impressions of that. But before that, let's take a walkthrough of this Polestar 3. So first off, you have, the dual blade headlights. You also have this brand new grille design with the smart zone. This isn't anything we haven't seen before, but it is, an evolution of what Polestar have done with their earlier cars, the 1 and 2. With the Polestar 4, we see an even further evolution of this design, where the dual blade headlight design isn't one unit, it is actually split. But here, it is one of the earliest iterations of the dual blade headlight design, and that's why it is, in one housing. You also have this smart zone here with a lot of sensors. You have like radar, adaptive cruise control sensors over here, which actually has a heating element behind it. And then you have this air spoiler here, which actually lowers the front to give the car lower drag coefficient. You also have the body painted Polestar logo there. Overall, a very attractive design and very low for being an SUV. And if we walk over to the side here, this has to be one of my favorite, parts of the Polestar 3, and that is in profile. The silhouette is, really cool. This being an SUV, and it's actually pretty low. It's like 1.63 meters tall. Really low. I can see over the whole car, but it still has decent ground clearance. And that makes the whole shape, just seem very sporty, very low slung and wide. And on the road, it just looks spectacular. It looks like nothing else you're used to seeing, especially when it comes to SUVs. And actually, me personally, I prefer these wheels, which are the non-performance versions. I just think these are really nice. I like, the open spoke, really airy spoke design. I just think this is a really nice wheel design on the Polestar 3. And when I've spec'd these, on my own on the configurator, I've actually chosen these wheels with the non-performance pack because I just love the way they look. We also have, the patented Polestar frameless mirrors, which are, an icon in mirror design since they first came out in like 2020. You also have these beautiful door handles that, come out from the body, and then when you lock the car, they actually retract, so they're flush with the body to improve aerodynamics. You also have a little bit of black cladding down here and also around the wheel arches, which I think gives the car a little bit more of a rugged look. And then you have just this little strip of chrome here, dark chrome, that, just makes the car, look a little bit more elegant compared to other Polestar models. This being an SUV, it has a little bit of a sloping rear roofline, but nothing aggressive like a Cayenne Coupe. And I think it just is befitting of this car. I think they, design-wise, they just nailed it. They just hit it out of the park with this car. You also have a charging port here on the rear right side. But interestingly enough, it's not powered like in other Polestars. I think the Polestar 4 is actually power operated. So that's an interesting thing, because this car, though it's called the 3, it actually sits above the 4. So lastly, on the exterior, I want to show you guys the rear end. And this also one of my absolute favorite designs. You have this wraparound Polestar, rear light bar, which curves around and then it comes back. Really nice 3D effect. And if you come a little bit closer, you can see from above, It actually has, you know, these lighting graphics from above, which is just really, really cool. Polestar logo here, body painted color, and then you have the opening to the boot, which I actually can show you guys now. So on paper, the trunk here is smaller than in the Polestar 4. I think the Polestar 4 has a 528 liter trunk, and this is 484 liters. But I actually think this is bigger in the real world, and also we're talking about VDA measurement numbers, which stops here at the belt line. This has even more space above that, but I think it's just a overall very usable space. So that is the exterior of the Polestar 3. I think it is one of the best looking SUVs, one of the best looking car designs in recent history. Let me know down below what you guys think. Now this is a very interesting spec of the Polestar 3. Usually I'm a huge fan of leathers, of really nice materials, but I'm also interested in, you know, testing and also exploring lower trims like this, which has the Microtech, this like wetsuit material cloth on the seats, which is somewhere in between a leather and a fabric. So this is, you know, not the most luxurious version, and also the interior is all black. I think that is kind of boring, especially since I live in Norway and half of the year it's dark, so you don't want, you know, dark interiors. But, you know, besides the color and this interesting type of material, the quality in here is impeccable. I remember when I went to the launch of this car back in 2022, I was so impressed of the material quality, because the same week I had just had on loan a Mercedes EQE sedan, which is about the same price. And that car had a lot of cheap plastics, especially high up in the cabin, around the grab handles where you're gonna grab. This has, you know, this stitched beautiful fabric on top of the dashboard. You have this beautiful aluminum trim on the dashboard here also. The only thing I don't like is this glossy black plastic that is already scratched up, but the steering wheel is really nice. This has a simulated leather, which they also called Microtech, which also I think uses pine oil and is really sustainable, and it feels like proper nice leather. I really like the gauge cluster in front of the driver that is on top of the steering column, so it moves with the steering when you adjust it. I also really like, you know, this vertical screen here. I know a lot of people don't like it because it just looks like it's glued to the dashboard, but it is actually really useful, and I think it's just a really clean design. These seats are super comfortable, so overall quality of the interior is really nice. And this car also has the Bowers & Wilkins upgraded sound system, 25 speakers, 1610 watts, and I had a chance to listen to it briefly, and it is an impressive sound system. I'm very familiar with Bowers & Wilkins in Volvos. I've had several XC90s with what is, you know, the precursor to this sound system, and that was super impressive. One of the reasons I actually went out and bought one of those cars, because the sound system was so impressive. I've had a little bit of time to listen to this, and it's as impressive. So from an interior standpoint, materials, everything is, you know, soft touch. You don't have any hard touch plastics, not even down low in the cabin. And all of the switchgear, the stalks, the button, steering wheel buttons, the volume knob, everything is of high quality. And look at this, guys. Manual air vents in 2024. Why reinvent stuff? Why make that electronic when this is so much easier to use? So let's hop in the rear, and I'll show you the large rear seats of this Polestar 3. So hopping in the rear of the Polestar 3, it is very, very roomy. Wheelbase 2.9 meters, and unlike its sister car, the Volvo EX90, which is built on the same platform, this doesn't have to accommodate a third row, and that means actually the second row is moved a little bit more back, and you have a lot of room. I'm sat behind myself here. I'm 5'10" or 178 centimeters. I have a bunch of knee room. I even have a little bit, you know, room underneath the front seats for my feet, and also a whole bunch of headroom, this huge panoramic sunroof. And also, yeah, even though it's a black interior, the material quality is so impressive. On the headrest, the back of the headrest is soft touch, on the back of the seats, on the back of this pocket, even down low on the B-pillar. It's just a very, very impressive cabin and of high quality, even in this entry-level trim. Yeah, I'm really impressed by the interior of the Polestar 3, and I've said that for years now. Kempower offers some of the best DC fast chargers in the world with their unique, sleek, and modern load balancing charging satellites. The small satellites translates to spacious and airy charging locations. When you as a user roll up to a Kempower charging station, you don't have to think about connecting to a charger that delivers the correct speed for your car. The Kempower load balancing chargers automatically will allocate the correct power to your car, maximizing the charging speed for the whole site. When connected, Kempower chargers have a QR code you can scan, and this way you can easily monitor your charging session remotely regardless of payment method. This is just super cool. A huge thanks to my friends at Kempower in Finland for sponsoring this video. Okay, so now we've jumped into the Polestar 3 dual motor performance. And this is, an interesting car. I've driven this before, and why do we have pilot assist on? That's weird. From a get-go? That was weird. I may have pressed something. So I've driven this car in the north of Sweden, in Jokkmokk, on an ice track back in February with head of chassis, Joachim Rydholm, and I had a really nice experience with this car. Really impressed about the driving dynamics, the steering feel, and just the overall driving experience of the car. So we're gonna do that a little bit later in this drive. We're gonna around some mountain roads here outside of Madrid in Spain, and we're gonna push this car to the limit. But first off, I just want you to know, drive the car normally. We're now in the comfiest setting. This car is on dual chamber air suspension, though when you have the performance pack, it's actually a little bit stiffer than the normal car that doesn't have the performance pack when you are in normal mode. It's just a little bit stiffer. They didn't talk about that in the presentation today, which was a little bit weird, but when I went to the drive in Jokkmokk, Joachim told me that the performance version, even in the comfort setting, is just a little bit more stiffer and sportier. But this car is super quiet, super comfortable on dual chamber air suspension, even on these 22-inch wheels. It's really refined. It's really an impressive car. So this, built on the SPA2 platform, I think is an evolution in the right direction compared to the SPA1 platform with cars like the Volvo XC90, Volvo S90, and so on and so forth. This is just a very refined, luxurious experiment. I also really like the steering wheel. It's really thin, it's a nice size, and the steering feel is really responsive off-center. I really like the off-center feel. It weights up right away, and it just feels so responsive. Okay, so we've now turned on ESC Sport mode, put the car into performance mode, standard steering up from light, and then into firm suspension. And now we're gonna push this car up these twisty roads here in the mountains north of Madrid. So I've driven this car already on an ice track, really impressed by how, that rear torque vectoring differential makes the car rotate. So let's see how it, acts and performs on asphalt. And there's just things flying around. And 517 horsepower, 910 Newton meters of torque makes this car move. Now we have a cyclist here, and then we have a little bit of traffic, and then there's a hairpin turn here. So let's see if we can get a little bit of rotation. Well, you can hear it like something mechanical is like limiting power. ESC Sport mode. So let's see if we can. I want to try the power out of a corner on throttle. Okay, let's see. Okay, so very interesting. You can feel that torque vectoring rear differential working because the steering tightens up and lightens without me having to do any corrections. That is very interesting. It just, when you're turning in full throttle, you have this positive steering feel into the corner. It kind of feels like it's pulling the car into the corner. Interesting, which is kind of what I felt with the car on snow and ice, but there you have slip, right? Because you have a low level of grip, And you don't have that here because of these, you know, big wheels, big tires, and we're on asphalt. We're just gonna let this guy just build a little bit of a gap. But I was really hoping we could get a little bit of throttle oversteer. Not that much. That was weird. That was like restricting power. But you can actually hear, I don't know if that's what we're hearing. It sounds like you're hearing that mechanical differential because there's like this gear winding sound. Let's see if we can get a little bit of rotation here. Throttle. Yeah, that has to be that rear differential, right? So, I don't know. It's interesting because what I felt with the other Polestar that I'm not allowed to talk about, so I'm not going to mention what car it is because of that, but that felt more traditional where you're reaching the mechanical grip, but here you're not even reaching it. It's weird. That's interesting. That is so strange. I'm not sure what to think about that because it feels like the car is limiting how much you're allowed to push it. I really liked it on ice and on snow, but here it just, I don't know. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. What I think about it. After sitting on the driving impressions of the Polestar 3 for a few days, this is my takeaway. It is a very impressive SUV to drive dynamically. Really great body control, really good steering response, steering feel. It just wakes up naturally and just feels natural. I mean, it feels even more natural than in my Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. I think it actually has better steering. I prefer the steering in the Polestar 3, and that says a lot. At the end of the day, it is a comfortable and luxurious SUV that is also sporty to drive. My only negative about the car is that I wish it had a little bit more power, maybe about 100 or 200 horsepower more in the performance version, because I think that torque vectoring rear differential, while impressive, I don't think the car really needs it on dry asphalt. Of course, on an ice track and even on a wet surface, it's a bit different, and I've driven this car on an ice track and there it was very impressive. But on dry asphalt with 22-inch wheels and tires, there just isn't enough power to overcome or overwhelm the chassis. This car has plenty of chassis and mechanical grip, and in my opinion, I think it just takes away a little bit of the edge, a little bit of the fun. But hopefully there will probably be a BST version of the Polestar 3 performance in the future with hopefully 600 or 700 horsepower, and then that torque vectoring rear differential will really be useful. But either way, the Polestar 3 is one of the best driving electric cars I've driven ever. I really like it. It may just be my favorite electric car at the moment. So there we go, guys. That was my world premiere first test drive and review of the brand new Polestar 3. I'm really excited to get to test this car later this summer, hopefully at the earliest, and also back in Norway in the fall or late summer. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later and goodbye.